Welcome back to my channel. My name is Monette, and this is my channel, Evolve with Monette. For those of you that are new here, I am a professional intuitive empath. To the family and the tribe that's returning, good morning, guys. Today, I want to talk to you about a spiritual fact and truth that I have discovered over the years, and it has been revealed to me, not just in my own personal life, but it's revealed in scripture and spiritual text all of the time. It's something that we overlook and something that we don't necessarily choose to see. But if you have to reveal yourself to someone in your life, you are no longer on assignment. I keep threatening the video. Earth angels, we are often assigned assholes. My earth angels, my empaths, you know what I mean by that. You have often been in connection with people that were off the beaten path. And that doesn't mean that you weren't off the beaten path at one point or another, too. It just means that you understood the assignment and that you had work to do. Usually, when we're assigned whomever we get to work with, in whatever capacity of relationship it is, we are not often told or privy ahead of time that we are on assignment. I can't say that for many of the assignments that I've had that I understood initially right away that that's in fact what I was there to do. Halfway through, I did understand, but I would keep it quiet because that was the plan, or that was the plan that my God asked me to do. Let me explain. Usually, in the midst of any relationship that might be turbulent or troublesome, or anybody that may need a little bit of guidance from an empath or an earth angel, we will kind of figure out, wait, there's a spiritual lesson going on here. Even if the other person is completely oblivious to the fact that the Holy Spirit, God, universal connection, angels and ancestors are near in that connection. And what will happen is, whether we even understand it or not, because we're not always in this Machiavellian state of manipulation. In fact, we're often very much not. We are just being guided to turn left and turn right. Our internal GPS is telling us how to uh, stick and stay or take flight. Because the other person that we are assigned to help elevate is usually being tested too. Just like we are being tested to see if we're going to follow through on the thing that the higher self, that God, that our angels instructed us to do. It's a very powerful lesson, but it's not one that you will understand as you are deep in the midst of it. You will start to get it and come out of the fog of it, but there's a very specific thing. It's almost like being a spy. You cannot let the other person understand the why of the choices that are made or the things that are happening. You just have to operate as if it is another day, another moment. And that is really difficult because there are things that will happen in that connection that will be triggering to you, Earth Angel and Empath. And that's why my angels asked me to make this video to help you get through that. You will also be growing in that. We are not some perfect specimens that have every answer. In fact, in many of my situations, I had no idea what I was doing, but I listened to my internal guidance. It doesn't mean I knew everything and that I was blessedly assured I was right. Now, my confidence is different as I speak to you at the end of this long night. I know when I'm right now, but when you're growing into a thing, you will not always have that confidence. And that is why it is being built in those tests and those assignments. They are assigned to you too to help you ascend, and you are assigned to them to help them learn how maybe to bend or to yield. Nice confirmation from my angels. That does feel real. Listen, guys, when I say once you reveal to them, if you have to come out of your quote unquote cover and reveal to them that you are their spiritual brother, sister, past life mother, whatever you've identified that you are, maybe supersonic lover, whatever you've identified that you are to that person, or why you were in their life to assist them, you, once you break that quote unquote spell, It's called breaking the fourth wall if you're watching reality TV, where they actually look at the camera, not just in a confessional, but where they acknowledge that there is an Andy, if you're familiar with the Housewives, or they would say something where they kind of come out of the character, where you're able to be pulled in, that you're observing people in a behavior, breaking the fourth wall. Look that up. So if you have to break the fourth wall spiritually, then you no longer get to take part in that lesson with whomever you were assigned to be helping. You get it? Or whoever you were assigned to have you help to your ascension. You cannot stay with them. There will be times, like in any situation, where you can pull that parachute cord or pull that eject button and get yourself out of a very sticky or uncomfortable situation. But when you do it, you never get to return, because that is a bridge that is officially burned, because it no longer contains the opportunity for growth and lessons once they know the cheat code, or they have what all of the information that the test was on. And what I mean by that is, if you have to say to somebody, I was put in your life to help you, and if they had been crappy to you and crapping on you and treating you badly for years and years, as you've been maybe being very patient, guys, you know we are long suffering, us earth angels, aren't we? And I don't think that there's anything wrong with that. I think it's part of our spiritual journey. But like with anything, you don't stay there forever. Nothing like that lasts forever. Nothing lasts forever. Empath, not your pain, not your happiness, not your elation, not the betrayal, not any of it lasts forever. But if you do have to reveal it and actually speak out the words, like, I'm here to help you, after you've been helping them and they could see that that's true, they no longer get the privilege, come on, empath, of being around you. And they no longer get to siphon energy from you, because we give greatly, my sweet empaths, when we are on assignment with one of our spiritual babies and we're helping them to grow up, but they're also helping us to grow up too. Let us not be supercilious and consumed in our ego. We have so much more to know, and those relationships help to grow us up. They really do. I'm grateful for everyone. The reason I make this video is because it has been crystal clear that I cannot keep any fakers, haters, or doubters near as I continue my own journey. And whether it, you've heard me talk about the deeper, more toxic ones, and thank God all of that is done. But I've also just had ancillary, simple people that were siphoning energy. People that didn't understand that all relationships are transactional and that there must be a norm of reciprocity. I found myself in the position recently of having to educate someone on the veracity and the reality of our relationship and hold them accountable for bad behavior when they had done it. And I gave them an opportunity to be gracious, as I had been in many times in our exchanges, when I had restrained myself when they could not restrain themselves, with veins popping out of their neck as they yelled. And that is not my way. But I let it pass and I let it go, and I allowed the quote unquote friendship to stay. And then I realized that ain't nobody got time to play. A year ago, they reached out to me, this person, and they called repeatedly, and I remember being annoyed. I remember being annoyed because I knew that it was coming in the air that night, that I had to deal with this and set it right. And my angel said, wait. Wait for it, and wait for it, Earth Angel. Wait for it, Empath. My angel said to me, no. And she kept texting me, this person, and texting me and being insistent that she had to talk to me. And I was just ready to let it go, because I had been in my dark night of the soul. And it's interesting, when you are physically ill or emotionally healing from something, you jettison off the things that could weigh you down. Nothing matters anymore. It's about survival. So that's the place I was in last year emotionally. So I didn't have room for anything that was ancillary. I didn't have room for extra fluff or people that might siphon my energy. So I was ready to cut it off. I was in that mode. Queen of Swords, if you read tarot, I was done. But my angels tapped my heart and they said, nope, there might be just one more thing we need you to do here. Okay, So she texted me, and she said, I have to talk to you. She said, I have to talk to you. I must. And can you call me? I said, I'm on with clients, but I will. And I promise you, I had the text and the email, or whatever you want to call it, ready to send off. But my angels literally stopped me in my tracks. When I did call her back, she told me that her sister had died. Do you understand the importance of not being in an impulsive energy, Earth Angel? Do you get that, empath? That sometimes we, in our own ego, and me in my dark night of the soul, and me realizing that I no longer wanted to be dealing with the trolls of my life, I was ready to cut her head off immediately and let it take flight. I didn't care. But my angel said, no, we need you there, and she needs you to hold her. I said, but wait a second, guys. She's been terribly mean to me, maybe taking me for granted. Not terribly mean, but had moments that were egregious and things that other people hadn't seen. Can you relate, empath? Can you relate, Earth Angel, to having people covertly treat you badly? And as they say, throw rocks and hide their hands and act like it never happened? So I said, but I've been patient all these years and I've never off with her head. I've always been a good friend. What are you talking about that you wanted me to wait? They didn't give me the answer until we were on the phone later that day. See, they didn't tell me why. Sometimes you don't get all the answers, guys. They just said, be obedient. I'm big on obedience. Wait for it. I really liked her sister. She was the better of the two. She was light and funny, and helped me get through some tough moments with the woman who called me and let me know that she had passed. She told me that her sister dealt with what she dealt with, and to give her a pass in the initial stages of an unfortunate situation many, many years ago. What I want you guys to know is that when she called me, we cried, and I held her and I stood by her side. And I sent her something because my angels asked me to, and it arrived at her house as it was expected to do, but she didn't realize that I had sent it. She called me sobbing, racking tears, because she thought that her sister somehow, before passing, had done it. She didn't realize that at the bottom of the box was a note, and so for hours she connected with her sister in the spiritual realm. This person who was very 3D in material got to expand herself because there was a miscommunication that was perfectly orchestrated by angels that they had me initiate, even though I didn't know that it was going to turn out great. I thought I was just sending a gift of condolence, but it was symbolic, and only she would know it, she and her sister who had crossed. And that opened the portal of communication so that she could start to develop her language and understand that we go on after this. And that her sister was out of her body that was heavy and laden with disease and was now in an ethereal bliss. She got the message, but she got it because I understood the assignment, that it wasn't about me and my ego and telling her which bridge she could jump off of and where to find it. It was about being obedient to do the job I signed up to do. I understood the assignment. I didn't get to have a good moment and release it and jettison it off. God said, we didn't ask you to come here just so that you could go off and hermit and hide away. We asked you to come here so that you can help people expand their spirituality in their everyday. That. Good morning, Miss Emily. You must, everybody. I maybe you do. Let's see when I'm through if you did need to hear it. We asked you to be here so that you could help people with their spirituality in their everyday. And that means today, Monette, that's what my angel said to me. You don't get your way. This happened almost a year ago. And I allowed, because I was told to do so, her to call me at any time she needed. It wasn't the first time I'd helped her with a major death and had been there for her. And I had been at her bed and bedside and anything that she needed because I genuinely cared about her. But this time I knew that a breakthrough was real. She started to put together signs and synchronicities and angel numbers, and she started to really perceptively feel. Previous to that, she'd been a Christer, Christmas and Easter, showing her face, but never having a deep connection and understanding God's grace. But see, when someone crosses, we are desperate to make the connection. And that's where my angel said, now you can turn up the convection and we will accelerate her growth. You are a conduit to help her know that there is more to life than the seeds that she's sown. What that meant is delayed, I want to say gratification for me, because I didn't immediately get to cut myself free from a relationship that I thought had no reciprocity, and I wasn't wrong. But they asked me if I would continue to play along, because in fact, it's what I incarnated to do. They asked me if I would continue to be her friend, even though she had been egregious to me, to help her get through. They showed me a scripture regarding turning the other cheek and how Jesus said, "Forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do." Come on, empath. You all know, Earth Angel, what that is. To have to be kind to someone who never gave too many shits about how their unkindness affected you. And so I even spoke to my mother about it a year ago, and I said, I'm so glad that I wasn't impulsive, because I was so annoyed the day that she called repeatedly because it was an infringement on my energy. And I thought, my love, you don't deserve it. But my angel said, who are you? The salvation, the grace, the blessings, do you think you've earned it? Who amongst you deserves anything? Ooh, that ego gets checked sometimes, guys. But that's if you're listening. So for the last year, I have been in a relationship with her, and we have had wonderful connections and opened up her third eye and got her to understand it's more than the sweet by and by. And she has had real dreams and communications and downloads from her angels and her ancestor sister and her nephew that had crossed over, and other people that crossed over this year. She would send me pictures of cardinals when they were near and other birds that she had ascribed to her family and other symbology. That's the magic that we bring, Earth Angel. So after a year had gone and I could see that she wanted to continue to siphon on, I asked, is it okay now if I cut the cord? Not to be mean. I've known this person for umpteen years, maybe 16 or more, but I knew that our work was done. That's what I want you guys to understand. Sometimes we think that we are Celine singing, This Will Go On and On. No, sometimes people need to grow, and the greatest growth happens when you let them go. Now, the letting go looks different for everybody. Sometimes you can slip away quietly, drift off, and drift apart without ever breaking somebody's heart. But empath and earth angels, we are mirrors from the start. In this person's life, I was the ghost of past, present, and future. Because they said energetically this person was emotionally a Scrooger. Scrooge from the Christmas story there. And so I was able to, in a way that I didn't ever think I would have to, but I no longer cared, hold up to her the truth about interpersonal relationship dynamics. I also held her accountable for the things that she did do regarding our interpersonal connection, where I felt slanted or slandered and slighted, excuse me. And then instead of offering an apology, she came back, as most of us would be, defensive. I wasn't mean when I did it. I was matter of fact, and some of the stuff she said was incredibly cruel, and I won't even repeat it to you, but it wasn't nice. But she didn't acknowledge that she said it, even though I laid it out clearly. And guys, you know I'm articulate. It's not a problem for me to convey a feeling or an emotion. Instead, she took umbrage and got defensive. And my angel said, her heart is still not open. A few days before I had to have this conversation with her, I saw a picture of her nephew who had crossed many years ago, and that was our first encounter with diving deep into her spirituality and me being able to understand deeper things for me as well. It was a learning opportunity for us both, and it was deeply sad and tragic. But I stood by her side in every step, from panic to acceptance to release. And she sent me videos when she was at his grave, as she would go every birthday to party, because that's who he was, and that's who he liked to be. When I had the opportunity to communicate with her about the things that were egregious and hurtful to me, she didn't want to acknowledge it. And my angel said, okay, Monette, you were obedient, and now you can set her free. But first, we do task you to educate her because she thinks that this is about you, but it's not. It's about her growth and what her crossed over loved ones wanted her to know, as well as what we want to sow into her life. Hence the name of the video. I had to reveal myself in order to set her on the right course, but it meant that no longer could she sup from my cup, no longer could we have discourse, because our time was now officially up. When she returned fire, if so to speak, if you will, regarding her hurt feels, she didn't apologize for hurting me. She just wanted to let me know, how dare I accuse thee? And in my mind, I'm petty. I said, oh, you have chosen violence. You know the saying, guys, you woke up today and chose violence. And what I mean by that is I will no longer stew over here in silence. And what have I said, empath and earth angels? We are spiritual snipers when need be. I reserve fire so purposely until the very last second when I can no longer allow someone to think that they will trample me. Does that mean that we didn't share laughter, guys? Does that mean that we didn't have good times? Of course we did. Does that mean that I didn't absolutely adore her kid? Met him when he was 2. He is now graduating. This is not the story from the other person. This is a whole different person. That other person was Caucasian. This person is African American. Different people. But it's interesting. There are seasons in our life, and we will have seasons of release. It is normal in everything. There is a harvest, there is a sowing, there is a spring. And I was with her through all of it. But this winter, the disembarkation had to happen because, again, we were not having healthy transactions. Does that mean that I didn't actually give her help in the last year as I was guided to, that I didn't take every call and answer every text and decode every dream gratis? And the reason I say that is because she had a big issue about paying me. And it wasn't even about my psychic work. It was about catering, actually. She never saw my worth. Empath and Earth Angel, how many people around you have not seen your worth and would like to extract your precious resources for free? I saw her value other people and other things, but never for me. And I pointed that out when I talked to her directly. I don't mince my words. It is important to be heard because for many of us, our throat chakras were affected with our narcissistic parents, and we were just told to let things be. I let nothing be. But I do not act out impulsively. I will watch and I will wait, but I will never be late to give you a heaping helping of a truth especially if it's going to set you free. Will she feel pain in our disembarkation and anger and vitriol and resentment for me? Sure. But will she grow? Absolutely. That is the assignment. When you have to say to somebody, I am in your life to help you with this, because she said to me, I am so upset. I invited you into my family. And I said, oh, sweet lady, how arrogant. God orchestrated that our friendship would be. That's the reality, guys. We can think that we have meeting points with people and we can pinpoint those moments. But the truth of the matter is, God owns it. We are nothing in the grand scheme of things. But we ants down here moving around and hearing the GPS, I didn't understand when I got into that situation that I would end up being so vexed or that I would ever feel like there was a time where I had to go left because no longer was the relationship right. I never thought that I would be the one that took flight, but I listened to the wisdom that came to me in the night. For a year, with the feelings I had, not being passive aggressive, never treating her bad, I held her in her grief until my angels came in and they said, we'll take it from here. We are your relief. She hears us now. Thank you for your obedience. And no matter how she feels about what you said, she will hear it in the voices of other people's mouths because she may think that you got it wrong and that you were not paying attention. She may think that you were attacking her and that you wanted to put her in detention. But see, when there is a truth that needs to be spoken, it will be spoken. And when there is something that someone needs to hear, God will put it directly in your ear, and you will have the opportunity, and it's not easy, to give them their freedom keys. I gave her the keys to her freedom, and not because I'm so magical, but because I understood the assignment finally. But in her refusal of apology and acknowledging the humanity in me, God said, oh, daughter, you can officially set her free. Her stubbornness will cost her, and she will long for your connection because there is no one else in her life that is going to bring her to the spiritual connection in the way that you had because we gave you this gift and we wanted to see if she was going to overcome her ego in this moment to acknowledge even a simple apology would have meant that you guys could have stayed in a relationship and we could have healed whatever was going on between the. We all have free will. Empath, Earth Angel, we foist upon no one what we want. I have no regrets and I will happily move on because that was her choice. We can't always give them that key. Just because we can see above the labyrinth and we know to turn right, we can see that there is in fact a light if and they're just a few feet away. If they decide to turn left and walk into the dark gray, that was their choice. And in that labyrinth, they will stay. The fact that I had to come out of my character, and not in any mean way, but say to her, how arrogant of you to think you orchestrated anything. We were assigned to one another. God is the great puppet master, not you and not me. I got to finally set myself free, but if you have to do that, then they no longer have access to thee. That's you, Earth Angel, and that's you, Empath. That's why I take umbrage regarding that whole twin flame thing, because if you have to scream it from the top of the mountains and write it out on paper in giant first grade scrawl for your twin flame partner, narcissistic connection, trauma bond, you name it, to see, then they no longer have the privilege of being around you because they didn't get it. There are subtleties in our spirituality, and we are all communicating. Energy is shared. And whether that person is completely 3D and material, they understand that the voice of God is there. They've heard that you were their connection or their partner. They heard that you were their best friend. They heard that you were the job that needed to stick and stay. They heard that you were their mother in law that wasn't supposed to go away. Whatever the relationship dynamic was, they knew instinctively, just like you did. But if you have to open your mouth and say it, then you get to disembark, because now they have to do the heavy lifting. It is up to them to do their part. Understand your power, empath. And don't worry about mourning it. I regret nothing because I always give people every opportunity to own it, every opportunity to fess up, every opportunity to see, every opportunity to speak value and worthiness over me. I don't need the validation from anybody anymore. Amen. God is good. But there was a time when I did, and I thought I needed to be a good friend. I don't give a damn, because I know that I'm obedient and I listen. And I also know who I am. I also know that I come from the I am that I am, this radiant light and energy that abides in every single one of us and wants us to be the best that we can be. And sometimes we are connected with people that cannot see. But if we have to tell them, then they no longer get to dwell with us, and we have to let them be. Someone else has to come in and teach them. We often make predictions, guys, and they do come true. But when we tell someone in gentleness and kindness, and it's not something they want to take part of, listen to, or want to do, then they will get that message repeatedly in others, and it will not be so kind. It may come in ways that fracture their mind. It's unfortunate, but we are also privy to that too. That's why I say be obedient and listen, because the person that I'm speaking about tonight was holding. That evening, she was in rocking sobs because she said we weren't speaking. Me and my avoidance of that person that called me because I had been getting annoyed, didn't know from her. And that's the thing that caused her to be sick, because she said, why couldn't I have gotten over whatever was so stupid? Why couldn't I just say it? She never even told me what it was, and I didn't need to know. I didn't pry psychically. I didn't grow. I felt for her, because I think many of us have been in that position where we have left something unsaid to someone because we thought life wouldn't realize. You to that relationship can never go back, because the disrespect level has reached such a point that you will never be able to look into their eyes and know that they respect you. But walking away is the thing that will always cause them to do exactly that. And not only that, they will never forget you. Unforgettable. That's what we are. If it ever goes that far, you are no longer on assignment. And that's what your angels want you to know. So good sharing energy with you this morning. Yeah, Emily's hilarious. She said she didn't realize that she was operating like a nonprofit. Yes, my love, sometimes we are. And we have value. It doesn't mean that someone is going to necessarily cash app you every time, but it does mean that there should be reciprocity, because the currency is energy. That is the divine currency. It's an energy exchange. And if it's not fair, sweet Emily, and anybody else listening, then that means that the person didn't pay. We don't do dine and dash. We pay our fair share, we pay our way. No one eats for free, especially off of our precious earth angel and empath energy. I love you so much, guys. Come back and join me next time, and we will continue to evolve together.